All right,
I was
welcome
thinking to
to,
tell you that.
I know, Leanne, I'm terrible about hitting record. Welcome to Management, Bob. Welcome to Management 1373. That will be human resources. That's something more like my radio voice. Top 40 hits. So if you look here, when you pull it up and you go to the dashboard, which I think we've already kind of seen, here, you'll see your options. This one's human resources. We'll pull it up. I know it still says Bob. It's the book cover. Now on here, there's a link to the Zoom class. I got it twice. My instructor information is on here. You can hit me up on
Yes.
Facebook.
Right there, Nars.
And then I put a little extra here, which is 21 tips for online courses. I suggest you read that. And I think Vanessa can help me out here, and a couple other people who've been with me before. Is procrastination will get you. It will bite you in the rear, and then you're suffering. So
And you can't wait till last minute. You have to stay on top of your stuff or you'll get behind.
And there are 6 assignments every week in this class. Now, the good thing is, even though I was just working on one of them myself, even though some of them are long with 25, 30 questions, maybe a few more, they're not that hard. They're not that hard at all. What I always tell people too is if like chapter 1, ask a lot of questions. On chapter 1, just sit down and read through chapter 1. You don't have to memorize it. If you read through it, so you kind of get familiar with what's in there, and you know where to go back and look for it. Trying to read and answer questions at the same time really makes it harder than it has to be. It's not that hard, Vanessa. And if anybody, okay, so those of you who had math, I was giving extensions out till tomorrow at midnight. So if anybody needs any of those, you can grab one. Just go to WebAssign and do that. Also, tomorrow I should have grades updated. Since I was so busy with technical difficulties today, I fell a little bit behind myself. Now, where you can go to modules or right here, and this kind of gives you an overview. It takes you, here's the link to the class, if you can see that. How to get started in Canvas, how to do MindTap. And then here, once we get into online classroom, you'll see online classroom. This gives you attendance points for showing up. Here is where your week 1. Okay, Bob set this up. So when you look at Wednesday and Sunday, I'm trying something a bit different here, which instead of breaking our assignments up to Wednesday and Sunday, I made everything for the week due Sunday at midnight. So you have the entire week to work on everything. All right, instead of breaking it up, you have to do, a chapter and a half by Wednesday and a chapter and a half by Sunday. Or I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, chapter and a half by each one. I figured maybe we'll try this experiment in this class and see if just giving everybody to the end of that week to get everything done helps out. Okay, so that way you're not struggling with a Wednesday due date. So I will change this myself, but this kind of gives you an idea of what week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 looks like. Now, if you go over here into assignments, this is where you should actually see your due dates. Now, let's not forget, this is made up of a few parts. It is 60% of your grade is your homeworks that you're going to be doing on MindTap. Your discussions are 25% of your grade, and your attendance is 10% of your grade. So Not attending it will drop you 10%, which is 1 full grade point. So if you have an A, you end up with a B, you have a B, you end up with a C. So attendance is an easy way to keep yourself from falling in that hole. The discussions are 25%. So if you show up to every class and do all the homeworks and make a 100, still the best thing you can do is a C if you don't do any of the discussions. So discussions are really important. And part of the discussion is you go in, you look at, and let's just pull one up here. It says discrimination and equal employment opportunity. As a manager in your field of study, focus on what you can do in the human resource department to ensure that your company is not discriminating, providing equal employment opportunity for all employees. And please answer the following questions. What can you do to protect your company from discrimination and provide equal employment opportunity? Please give an example. And then what are the threats in your field? What are the threats to your field in this regard? Please give an example. So you answer those, and that's the first part of it. The second part of it is you're required to reply to 2 of your peers' posts as well. So they're going to give an answer, and you're going to go back, and it has to be something that pushes forward the discussion. You can't just say, good job, I like your answer. Okay, that does not what counts. You have to say, I agree, I disagree, here's the reasons why, did you think about this? You know, try to put something forward. That's why it's called a discussion. You're going back and forth. So you do your post, and then you do 2 replies to other students. And if it's good, then you get all 30 points. If not, then okay. Emma, I hate to put a word count on it. I really do, but it does say in there it has to be at least 100 words. Okay. I'm not counting words and going, oh crap, Emma only did 98 words, I got a gigger. You know, so 100 words is what it's supposed to be. But if it's 90 words, I'm not going to be mad. If it's 150, I'm not going to be mad. If it's 300 or 400, I might start getting mad. Then you're just, you know, making me read too much. Teasing. So that's how the discussion works. And there's one of those per week. Easy, 25% of the grade. Those, you know, the questions aren't that hard, especially if you go through the material. And then we go here. And if, like I said, if you look here, you see when the discussions are due, May 15th, May 22nd, 29th, and 5th. And then also here, I know it says due Wednesday. That's not it. I will change all those. Chapters 1, there's 2 assignments on chapters 1, 2 on 2, and 2 on 4, and they're all due Sunday the 15th. So that's all your week 1 stuff right there. I was just doing chapter 1 concept check quiz. It's kind of long, but honestly, it took me, between phone calls and stuff, about a half hour. Now I know that doesn't mean anything because I've done this before, and so a lot of the questions I can just look at and I already know the answer. But that just gives you, if you might spend half hour to an hour on them, depending on how fast you read, you know, how much you already know about the subject matter. Let me read the chats here, make sure I haven't missed anything. Nope, didn't miss anything. I don't think so. Double check. All right. And that is the width and the breadth of the actual assignments here. Do we have any questions, concerns, complaints? All right, so we are at 6:17, so we can actually get into a little bit of the actual human resources stuff. And oh, no, there's more thing I want to do. I'm glad I had it up here. This is on the homepage, this particular article. This is one of the most popular ones out there, and actually one of the best ones that I've seen, which online classes, how to become successful, talks about setting goals, treat studying like a job. I do have a story for that. I have a friend of mine, guy I graduated high school with. He became a fireman in Fort Worth, and probably 10 years after we graduated. Um, so it was just sometime after the meteor killed all the dinosaurs. He became a fireman in Fort Worth, and every time there was a test to get promoted, you know, there was a test to drive the truck. There was a test to become a lieutenant, test to become a captain. He treated that studying like a job. On his days off, he set back that time and he studied. That's what he did. And then he would hit the test and he would always knock it out of the park. And he would have him a slot waiting for him to become lieutenant. And then he's a captain now in the Fort Worth Fire Department. And believe it or not, they make pretty good money as that high up. I was surprised. And that's he treated studying like a job. He set back the time for it. He got rid of distractions. And and like most of us, you try to do that with spouses or kids or somebody around. You have to find a way to block those people out of your life for an hour at a time, or 45 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it takes. And I know that's difficult. That's why I'm in the office today with my internet being down at my house. I was going to go do this from my daughter's house so I could be back home instead of doing it from the office, because it's 45-minute drive home for me. But then I realized she's got a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old that wants Pawpaw's attention. And how am I supposed to hold class when I got a 3-year-old, climbing over my head? So you just had to, I had to give it up. I'm just going to be here till 8:30 tonight. Make a study plan, manage your time carefully. That all kind of folds into the same thing. Study blocks, which also study breaks.
I wish I could you need the laptop up and running, and I would have got it up and started it.
Who am I hearing here? Let's see. Is that Pamela?
Yes.
Your I would say your audio's on. I was hearing somebody in the background. And you're here, which I can mark you present. So we're good to go. Which means study breaks as well. Nobody can sit down for an unlimited amount of time and read and study. That is not how that works. That's, I remember, when I was in college, I used to take what was called intercession classes, which means you would go to a class for 8 hours a day for 6 days, and the class would be done. Instead of going 3 hours a week for 16 weeks. And they would usually do that. You do like 3 days before Christmas break or 3 days after. But you couldn't concentrate for 8 hours a day. Honestly, you can't be in a class for 3 hours straight without having some breaks in between and trying to, take a little time to recharge. So the breaks are as important as the studying, as long as they don't take up more time than the studying, I guess. Find a quiet place, eliminate distractions like no 3-year-olds climbing all over you. Limit social media. Okay. Like the rest of us in the year 2022, our phone is connected to us at all times. And I don't know how many people here, but if you accidentally leave your phone in your car or leave it at home, and you go to reach for it, you suddenly panic because you don't know, what if somebody tried to get a hold of me? What if I missed a text? Sometimes it's good to just silence your phones, stay off Facebook for a while, Twitter, whatever your drug of choice is on that part, or Elon Musk Twitter. Use online resources, break down tasks. That was always the other one. How do you eat it? We don't care about necklaces. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You don't have to eat the whole thing. You don't have to swallow it whole. Be mentally engaged and difficult. And I always find if I find myself drifting, and that happens, you might have to get up, take a break, go get a drink, splash water in your face, walk around the block, play Beat Saber, whatever you need to do at that point to kind of get your head out about you. Just take a break. Take notes. Notes are always good. The good thing is this will be available online the day after we do this. So if you need to go back and try to check something out, then you just go back and look at it again. But also, and I think I told Vanessa and them, when I was taking math classes, and we're talking, had college algebra, college trig, calc 1, calc 2, linear algebra, business calculus. And what saved me is one of the things always that I would take notes, and then immediately when I got home, I would rewrite those notes. Just to kind of cement it in my head, because if you wait for a day or two, it's gone. It's gone. You're only able to maintain so much information at a time. Make studying enjoyable. Take breaks. I already went through that. Stay healthy. Connect with others. That's the other thing. I named off a bunch of math classes. The way I got through that stuff when I was in the engineering program is we had study groups. 5, 3, 4, 5 heads are better than one. And everybody's different. Each person may understand it in a different way than you do, or that you don't understand it. And you may be able to help somebody else. And sometimes the best way to learn material is to teach it. That's as a teacher who's been doing this for on and off for 2 decades. Had to do the math, which I didn't like it, so I had to rethink it, but it still worked out to be the same. Many times the best way to do it is to teach it. Okay, beat deadlines. So if something's due at 11:59 and you're still working on it at 11:45, the day it's due, you kind of already messed up. So you've got to try to, you'd like to have it done, especially given today's technology. It'll really bite you in the butt, because if you lose, I don't know, internet access at home, and suddenly you're scrambling, going, oh crap, how am I supposed to finish this? It's due in an hour. And then reward yourself when you're done. And I always like that. But given as hefty as I am today, I need to stop rewarding myself with it. I need to find something else a little healthier. So the articles on the homepage, I just want to kind of go through that, because I think it's a really, really good, just a really good tight article on these are things you can do to be successful. I don't really always appreciate stuff like that, but that one kind of just lays it out for you. And a lot of it's common sense. It's just things you don't always think of as you go. So at 6:26, also, I was going to let you know before I forget, and I will send this out into an email as well. I will open the class up 15 minutes early on Mondays. So class is at 6. I will open up at 5:45. So if you have some questions that you need answered beforehand. Also, I will stay till about 7:15 or 7:20 if needed. I would stay longer because I volunteer to do that during math. But I have another class. I have a customer relations class at 7:30 tonight as well. So I have to have just a little break in there so I can get the other class up and get my material pulled up and everything else I need. So, but I will stay 15, 20 minutes late after 7 o'clock. If you have any questions, concerns, if we need to go over anything, we can do that as well. And of course, you can reach me by, I think if I haven't sent it out yet, let's look here. You go here with my weird smile. I don't know what the heck happened here. You'll see my office phone. There's also a text number here. Okay. Email, my Facebook page. The text and the email are probably the 2 best ways. Probably email first and then text me if you don't hear from me pretty quick. I'm not always in front of my email, or I'm not always checking it. But so if something's emergency, I'd say, you know, you can always send me an email if you don't hear from me in when you think it's a good enough time, then you shoot a text and say, hey, I sent you an email. Can you help me out? And what we're going to learn here, one of the questions was, hopefully we get to it in this human resources stuff, about communicating with employees as part of human resources. The other edge of that sword is there are so many ways to get a hold of people now. You don't always check all of them. you get hold of me on Facebook, my phone, my work phone, you know, email. And so with so many different options, people aren't always paying attention to all of them all the time. So although communication is faster and easier, it's not always as effective as you'd like it to be. So that's why I said, you know, email first, text me second. If you still don't hear from me, then I'm at that point, I'm either asleep or dead. And I try to check stuff before I go to bed at night. I don't always get that. I'm old. I like my sleep. Just is. Where else we at? So we have that. Any questions or comments about just the basic setup of the class? No one? The Mindy Bunny is shaking her head no. So let's kind of get into the meat of it here. I was working right here on the questions. This is actually the chapter 1 concept quiz. There's 45 questions. I've got through about 27 of them. The advantage here right now is, I don't always do this a lot. We can go through these and you guys are going to get a step ahead on the first concept quiz. And a lot of this stuff is, they talk about the Industrial Revolution, they talk about the Hawthorne studies, they talk about some other stuff, Civil Rights Act, things of that nature. But besides some of the very specific things, a lot of this is just common sense. So everybody fine with kind of going over this first one as best we can for the next 29 minutes? I think Vanessa says she's good. Either that or she's, Miss Baker said okay. Either that or she said she's a gangster. I don't know, throwing up signs. So for first one, for an
Another
organization.
conversation with a child.
Okay, first off, let me turn down my headphones.
I didn't mean to scare you there.
That's right. I
was
Maybe a
having a
little
conversation and pointing my finger with my
Oh.
hand with at my kid.
That's right. I think a little poo came out, so it's all right. Wow. I need a warning next time. So I'm gonna turn these down a little bit more. I had it. That's on me actually. I had it up a little bit too high. There we go. And these are my birthday present, my bone induction. No, you're fine with this. These are the bone induction ones, and they're a little bit different. They don't actually go in your ears. They sit on the outside, and they conduct the sound through the bones. Kind of the same, hear your own voice. And so it's a little different. I like them. They're awesome, and they're super comfortable, but they can surprise you, especially when it's really loud. They vibrate as well against your skin. So for an organization, ownership, investment, sales revenues, bank loans, provide capital and cover expenses necessary to conduct business, constituency or organizations. Okay, that's your physical resources. Okay. And I know that, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we're going to beat that one up too much. Try to get some of the good ones here. Okay. Human resources, it's supposed to believe that each employee is important to the overall effectiveness of an organization. In theory, that's the way it works. But just a quick show of hands, has anyone ever dealt with HR before? Yeah, it doesn't, depending on the organization. Now, we have good HR here. Yeah. Pamela and, gosh, Sherry, I feel like here we have a really good HR organization. But I've worked in places they weren't always really good. And so in theory, they're supposed to be a resource to help the employee become more effective. They're not there to just hire you and fire you and punish you. They're there to keep you happy, keep you retained, and make sure everything's going well. And I think I told Vanessa this. My daughter used to work for Dish there on 71st. Well, at first she worked on 71st Street, and then she went work from home. She did phone, and then she did chat, and she liked it. The only reason she left is because there were rumblings of layoffs at the time. So she decided to find a job and beat feet before she got caught with her pants down. That's how Michael smiled. Yeah, old vets, man. That's how it is. Yeah, every once in a while you'll hear me say squared away as well. Here. Okay, so the basic definition of HR management is it refers to a comprehensive set of managerial activities and tasks concerned with attracting, developing, and maintaining a qualified workforce in ways that contribute to organizational effectiveness. Now, let's just be honest. When you go to work for anyone, the bottom line is ended up what matters. So what's the best way to achieve that bottom line? Is it to work your employees so hard under such crappy conditions with, that they finally just fold or die, or is it to try to, get the person in the right job, develop those person skills, keep them happy, keep them retained, and keep them efficient and effective in the organization so that bottom line can be met. So that company, because in the end, the only way you get paid by a company is if that company is making money. Okay. If you're not contributing to that, then that's going to be an issue. So, and it all starts with hiring the right person for the right job. I always tell the story about I was a operations manager for a oil company for 6 years, and we had a warehouse guy. His name, we'll call him Ron, because his name, and he was just a grumpy Grinch. You couldn't send him out to do an oil delivery. You sent him out on an oil delivery, you were going to get a complaint. He was just not the guy you wanted out there in front of your customers. Okay. I mean, I remember one time the customer called and said, "I can't believe your guy. He drove up to deliver some drums of oil, and we had some equipment in the way, and he told my guy to get it out of his way. He had to deliver this oil. Chop, chop." No, that didn't work out. But we did figure out that Ron was great in the warehouse. He was an old Marine, and nobody kept the drums full, stacked, dress right dress, everything clean, everything in its place better than Ron did. So we figured out, instead of firing Ron for being a jerk on deliveries, we didn't send Ron on deliveries. We put him in charge of the warehouse to make sure that warehouse was squared away. So, and that's part of I always call it the round peg, round hole. You can't shove a round peg in a square hole and expect for it to fit the right way. You're just going to tear something up. And because any other, in a lot of places, you get a complaint like that, you're gone, you're out. But part of the human resources aspect of my job was, okay, where can I have him effective? We spent time to find him, hire him, train him, get him in the company. And it's very expensive to do those things. And it's a waste of money and resources just to boot him out. We have to find the right place for him. And that was it. And he worked there long after I left. And like I said, you walked into that warehouse, you're walking into some sort of oil museum. Everything was in its place. Nothing was out of place. Everything was exactly how it should be. And if you told him he was one of those guys, if you told him this is your operating procedure, this is how you do things, he would do that way forever, the same way from now on. And it would take an act of Congress to change it. So, as long as and I know it's a long story, but as long as you know what you're working with, many times you can fit somebody in where they belong. And it may not always be what you hired them for. Because they hired me as a salesman, and I become an operations manager because I was really good at making sure things ran well, but I was terrible at finding customers. So I hated doing cold calls. Made me want to just bail out of a moving vehicle. A whole day of cold calls. Gosh. So where are we at here? Number 3. Well, I'm going slow, aren't I? Okay, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 made it clear that organizations had to find a way to hire, reward, and manage people effectively within the limits of the law. Okay, that Title VII Civil Rights Act, okay, came a long way. You can't discriminate against race, color, creed, religion, gender. They use that to even the playing field, and which at that point in American history, and even the history of Western society, which kind of runs parallel to American history, that was needed at the time. We had come out of a time when up until 1865, slavery was still legal. After that was Jim Crow laws. 1920s, women didn't have the right to vote. And so we needed to codify in law, this is how you have to treat your employees based on these circumstances. And that gave us clear rules and regulations. Now, in many places, it didn't go over very well, and it was fought, and it took a long time for it to take hold as it should. So that's, big Civil Rights Act. I'm native, so we didn't have it too groovy either back in the day. Human resources are our organization's most important resources. Human resources, not the people that man the human resources, but the actual humans at work. Those are not only your most important resources in your company, but usually the most expensive. And the people working for you are going to make or break your company. You can have the best equipment, you can have all the backing you need, you can have the right location depending on whatever you're doing, but without the right people to do this work, you're in a bad place. So there's no getting around it. And so it pays to treat your human resources as very important, not just as a number or a cog in a wheel. Once again, that's why I came back here after my hiatus, because number one, this is a really good place to work. They treat people with respect. They keep you trained. It's an enjoyable job. Even when I have frustrating days like today, I didn't feel like quitting. And I've been at jobs that when we owned the directional drill company, if I wasn't one of the owners, I probably would have quit many times. And maybe that's why I wanted to quit, because I was one of the owners, right? Um, because well, just some days are harder than others, but here even the hard days aren't so unbearable that you can't stand it. And that's, I really like it here. Plus, my wife told me if I didn't get a job and get out of the house, she was going to uh, leave me. So I took about another month to think about that, and I decided maybe I should be all right for her to stick around, since we already put 28 years into the whole thing. Which of the following statement is true of contemporary human resources management? The view at human resources management as part of a legal enforcement arm of an organization is largely applicable only in the United States. And that's, they use a word in here, you'll see in these questions, they use a word called ethnocentric. Okay, I don't know if anybody is dealing, I think I have it pulled up here so I can have, no, I didn't pull it up, give you exact definition here. It's evaluating other people and cultures according to the standards of one's own culture. Okay, that's a bad thing. All right, and I know as Americans, we have a tendency to look through everything through that American lens. Okay, and we don't understand other cultures, people, and when you're ethnocentric like that, you seem to a lot of times look down on other cultures, and they do the same thing to us. I mean, it's not just an American thing. You go to many places overseas, they think we're insane. You go to some of the Nordic countries where they have paid vacation of a month every year that's mandatory for you to take. I remember what country it was. I should have looked it up. I didn't even think about it till now, but there's one country, Sweden, Norway, one of them. You're not allowed to work. I mean, you're not even allowed to send emails on a Sunday. It's just not done. So many societies look at us like we're overworked, and maybe sometimes we are. And we look at many other societies like they're underworked, and maybe sometimes they are. We're not all wrong with it. Okay, a firm's executive committee is a body composed of key top managers that makes major policy decisions and sets corporate strategy. Okay, so you have the people at the top that decide what the goals are and how you're going to get there. And they're calling it the executive committee. Depending on where you work, it may, they may call it different things, but it basically is the same thing. Outsourcing. It's an important competitive weapon for an organization. Outsourcing does have its place. You can't do everything in-house. Directional drilling business. I learned the difference when we were at the oil company. It was a small oil company. It was one of the top 10 ConocoPhillips lubrication distributors in the United States, but it's still relatively small. I mean, if you're under 100 employees, it's still considered a small business. And I don't remember if that's exactly right or not. I'd have to look it up again. But we did payroll on our own. We had a payroll lady who that was her job to do payroll for everybody. In the drilling business, we had a much smaller company with a much smaller tight-knit management group where me and the other owners ran the day-to-day because it was a small startup and we had to do that. And one of the hurdles we had was payroll. That was a really complicated thing. But we found, there are payroll companies that all you do is go on the website and plug in the numbers. They handle your taxes. They handle sending the employees their checks. They handle sending the money to the IRS, to, the state, and all that other stuff. And really, on a weekly basis, the supervisors would figure out the hours. sent them to me for approval, I would plug them in and I would send it to the other managing owner to double check that and do the final approval. And that was a lot more efficient because we used a third party that took care of all the heavy lifting for us. And I was glad to have it, because if we had to do it the old way, you know, we had to figure up the taxes and write a check every week to the IRS for this and this guy. I mean, you know, if somebody had, and we're talking about pipeline type guys. And so I usually got, you know, if we had 50 guys working for us at the time, at least once a week, I got child support paperwork in for a lead person, just the way it was. It's just that kind of business. And I would plug that in to the software and it was taken care of. I plug it on the website, done. I never had to worry about doing it every week again. Okay. And the only time I had to change it is if the paperwork amount changed or whatever happened, you know, and the paperwork be sent to me, boom, we'd handle it. It was really, outsourcing helps out a lot, because you can take another company that has specializes in a field like payroll, and that's all they do. And so you can turn a lot of that over to them. I know I'm kind of beating that one up, but you know, outsourcing sometimes catches a bad rap, but at this, you know, many times it helps out. Okay, Gears Inc. I'm sure that's a real company. It probably is. An automobile manufacturing firm has hired an external agency to handle its employee compensation function for the HR employees, so that the HR employees can focus on other tasks such as legal compliance and employee training. The firm has made this change for two reasons: to increase workforce efficiency by reducing the time spent on the compensation function, and to reduce the dissatisfaction caused by the repetitious nature of this function. In this given scenario, Gears Inc. is employing outsourcing. Okay, basically what I just said, except a lot more concise and tight. The Industrial Revolution. Now, the Industrial Revolution, I have to have it pulled up over here to remind myself of all the little ins and outs of it. But it started in what, late 17, early 1800s. And out of that came, you know, the steam engine, the steamship, the telephone, the telegraph, the light bulb, electric power generators. During that time, that's when the AC people and DC people were duking it out on which electric was better for your home. Now, AC seemed to have won out. If we had a crystal ball, it may not have, because now most of everything we do is DC. My laptop, when I plug it into a wall, there's a little transformer here that turns that AC current to DC to charge my battery. Same thing with your cell phone. But you know, this is what happens during the Industrial Revolution. You had this, you know, we went from being a society based on farming and agriculture to opening up these great big factories to make steel and cars and all the other things. And although it was, as technology went, it was this great big jump in technology, it wasn't a real groovy time for workers, because they would put you in a smelting factory, and if you fell into a molten pit of metal and died, you know, then, you know, your family was just out of luck. So it wasn't all good. But, you know, other things that came out of it was the assembly line. You know, Henry Ford made that popular. That instead of having a group of guys come in and build each car separately, they would move it down the assembly line. They would move the car to them, and each person had one job. This guy tightened these 6 bolts up. That was his job. And so you could take somebody who would normally, I'm not going to say, let's call them a less skilled worker. You could teach them a repetitive task, and they could do it well enough that they could say gainfully employed. So all these good things, but as we know, you know, in human history, all the good stuff usually is mixed in with a whole lot of, for lack of a better word, just crap. You know, lack of care for, you know, all this industrial and these technological inventions came out, but the care for the employees wasn't there. So that had to come later. and, you know, child workhouses, that was terrible too. Things of that nature. But once again, you know, as a race, we have to move past those things. Now, as this goes, as an effect of the Industrial Revolution, business owners began to rely on professional managers to oversee portions of their operations. Before, it was skilled tradesmen. Okay, everybody was a skilled tradesman. A lot of times when we're making cars, I don't know if you remember, they had the car manufacturer would make the frame and the engine, but they had what they call coach builders, and these are guys that carved and cut and made these actual bodies of these cars out of wood and metal. They hand built them from scratch. So you went from that to, you know, instead of skilled tradesmen, to having a manager overseeing something, and then your less skilled workers creating a function that they can do repetitively over and over again and make it work out. All right, 6 minutes. I'm not get as far as I want. In the context of the evolution of HR function, scientific management was concerned with structuring individual jobs to maximize efficiency and productivity. I work for people that still kind of had this, what they call the scientific management system, which is if you are reaching over to grab something, it better be making them money. When you brought your hand back, it better be making them money, right? Every movement you made had to be purposeful and efficient. That makes for a hard work environment. But that was one of the things we had to get through to move on to the next level. Which statement is true about the scientific management in the 20th century? It was concerned with every motion that a worker made, and it was. And you'll see that a lot of times. I have a video I may try to put up if you guys want to watch it. The largest automobile plant in the world right now is a Volkswagen plant in Germany. It's the size of a city. They have buses that run you from one end to the other. If you go into work in one end of the building, they have bicycles for you to ride to the other end. And I mean, it's just, this place is huge. They even make their own German sausages to feed their employees. They make about, they put their own sausage plant in the middle of the thing that makes about 6 million sausages a year. And these guys, there are 45 questions. It's not that bad, I promise. And I don't remember my numbers, but I believe they turn out a car exits that factory every 12 seconds, 24 hours a day. And to see it is just, I would love to go tour. And they actually have tours. You can go take tours. It's become such a thing. You can go take tours and eat some of their German sausage and see how they paint the cars and put them all together. And the fun thing about that is each car that comes out of there is individually made. And they also use what they call just in time. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. That was created by the Japanese, where they don't have to store a whole mess of parts. What they do is the parts to build cars come in just in time to put them on. So as the parts come into that factory, that part will not sit in a warehouse more than 6 hours before it gets put on a car, because it has a predetermined destination, which means you have to deal with your vendors and everything very tightly as well. But to see the size and scope of how they make these cars, each one, I mean, they come down an assembly line and they go to the paint booth, and each car is a different color than the one from before it. And they still turn one out every 12 seconds. It's just, this thing, it amazes me. The Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 established a minimum wage. Okay. Whether you like the minimum wage or not, however you disagree with that, they are setting a floor for how much you can pay people. Now, not too many people. Now it's not meant for you to raise a family off of or be really self-sufficient. It is, you know, the minimum wage is based on, you know, for teenagers and people just in the workforce. So So I can't pay you $1.50 an hour. Okay. There's got to be, I can't pay your 16-year-old son, $2 an hour, or 16-year-old daughter to flip burgers. It's not fair and it's not right. So they set a floor. The effectiveness of it to these days, I don't know, because nobody really makes minimum wage anymore. There's very few jobs right now that pay minimum wage. If anybody knows of any, I would really like to hear it, because especially during the oil boom, which I know pre-COVID and whatnot, when we were doing the directional drilling stuff, they were paying car hops at Sonic $12, $13 an hour. It was $14 an hour to go to work at McDonald's in some of these places. And I know it varied by geographic area, but even here in Tulsa, I don't think you made $7.25 an hour to work at McDonald's anymore. All right, I gotta have time for this. This is probably the last one. In the context of the human relations era, the Hawthorne studies revealed that an individual and group behavior played an important role in organizations. Well, yeah, we had to have a study to tell us that people's behaviors affected their work. Somebody had to scientifically do that, right? One of the best that do it really well is the U.S. military. They will put, yes sir, they will put you in the right job at the right time, and for what you can do. And I believe, and if I get this wrong, if IQ testing came directly from the military, or the refined point of it, and I don't remember if it's 83 or 85, but the military decided if you have anything under, I believe it was 83, but it could be 85, IQ of 85, you can't be a soldier because there's no job you can do effectively. So, and as far as training goes, things like that, the military is really good. You spend 99% of your time training for the 1% of the time you actually need it. And so it is as big of problems as a lot of people may have with it. It does serve a purpose, and many times it has been known to lift people out of poverty. So I like it. I'm not going back, but I like it. Too old, too broke down. So that is the end of the actual class. I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss anything in chats. I wish I could have got more done. I always feel like that. Nope, I don't think I missed anything. I will be here for the next 15 minutes. I can continue to go through these questions if people want to stick around. If not, you're more than free to buckle and bounce. Oh, Vanessa's out. Minnie said I'm done. And Hannah started listening to me. Yeah, all right. So I'll wait around for about a minute, see if anybody wants to stick around. If not, then I will call it good. Well, how many people are left? Night, Sherry.
I just wanted to say thank you so much again. I really do appreciate you.
No, it's no problem. And if you have any problems, let me know. I know I try to get to stuff as quickly as I can, and I'm still getting back into the swing of teaching again after having a hiatus for 3 years, so.
Hey, and even in math, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm like, where were you at when I was in high school? Honestly, and I suck at math. I'm good in English, but I just really suck in math. And I just figured, I'm like, man, we should try this. I like the Sunday deal. I think that'll work out perfect.
Okay, well, we'll know here in a little bit, I promise. So,
Definitely.
all right, well,
I'm on it now, so I appreciate you.
okay, did you get all your math done?
And I'm still doing it now. I'm about to get back on it now. But yes,
Okay,
I
well,
completed like maybe, I want to say 4 to 6 assignments, if I'm not mistaken.
oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Well,
I've been on it.
well, first thing in the morning, I am going to input all the grades that everybody has. Good night, Pamela. I will input all the grades everybody has up to that point tomorrow.
Okay.
And that way, maybe by lunchtime, everybody can see where they're at that time. And then I'll do one last scoop up on Wednesday morning, because everything closes out Tuesday at midnight. I'll scoop everybody up on Wednesday morning and put in the final grades.
All righty. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a
I'll
great
talk to you
one.
later. And who is Zoom user? Somebody just pop in and popped out. All right, well, I'm going to end the recording. And whoever watches this later, thanks for coming, guys. It was nice.